Good morning. I'm Laura Anderson, and it is my pleasure to serve as this morning's worship associate for the service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Charlotte County, also known as UUFCC. The service is being broadcast live via Zoom and YouTube, so I need to remind you of a couple of simple procedures that will help our broadcast run smoothly. To respect and protect everyone's privacy, it will be our practice to use first names only and, when helpful, last initials. Please remain muted throughout the service, even when singing, but please do sing. You may wish to have a chalice or candle available for our chalice lighting ritual. During the service, the Zoom chat function will be disabled, but at the end of the service, we will virtually gather for a social time and ask you to remain muted until you see the posting that invites you to begin. Your patience will be appreciated as we need a moment or two to close down the YouTube connection. The social time is via Zoom only. Today, we begin our service by recognizing Samhain, an ancient celebration of the end of the harvest. And I would like to invite Sharon to explain the celebration.
Perhaps you know that the earth-based or pagan calendar is divided into quarters by solstices and equinoxes, and that the days that fall halfway between each solstice and equinox are called cross-quarter days. Samhain is a cross-quarter day. European Christians transformed this holiday into an All Saints' Day or All Souls' Day. In Mexico, the time is known as Dia de los Muertos. Sorry if I pronounce that wrong. And in the United States, a non-religious holiday, Halloween. During Samhain, sometimes we gather to honor our ancestors who visit while the veil is thin and by setting an extra place for them at the table. Some visit the graves of their ancestors and have a picnic there and place flowers around the grave to honor them. A lot of people make resolutions to bring in the new year because to people who worship the earth, this is the beginning of the year. We will do a ritual this evening here at the fellowship, and you're welcome to join us at 6:30, where we'll be gathering. We will be outside to recognize Samhain. In preparation, I will lead the ritual, and we have 4 others to assist as well, each guardian representing earth elements and directions. We have chosen the colors of our clothes, orange, black, and yellow, the colors of Samhain. We have an altar, and we have prepared it appropriately with selected items. We will initiate the beginning of our circle with cleansing incense. We will then cut the circle, light our chalice, and cut the quarters. We will show the, then we will symbolically cut the circle. And today we will do a little bit of an educational showing for you of what would be done. And in the actual ritual, like we'll have tonight, we will be invoking the goddess and the god, and then there'll be circle activities. So for today, our little sample, we will start with the chalice lighting. Laura?
The chalice is the sacred symbol of Unitarian Universalism,
The central grounding of our service this morning. Sharon will light the chalice here in the sanctuary. You'll notice that the chalice is not in the usual place, but it is on the side so that we can have other candles around it for our ceremony this morning. As Sharon lights the chalice, please join me in the recitation of our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our aspiration, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another.
for some reason. Laura? Okay, so
For the quarters, we'll need our volunteers. So Corey, Laura, and Bryce and Sue will be helping. And right now we'll start with fire. I'm sorry, we'll start with air. I apologize. And Corey will be doing that. So Corey, the air right here. And okay, yeah. Why don't we light the candle this way and then
Where's the lighter thing?
light it this. Yeah, you light it and then
Oh, light is on the top. Okay. It doesn't want to light. There we go.
Discovering candles tonight and
I call the watchtower of the east, the power of air, to protect this circle from all which is unseen, from the winds that blow cold with the touch of winter, and from any negativity. So mote it be.
and the next one would be fire, which I'll do. This we will keep lit. And the incense would symbolize air. And this for now. I call the watchtower of the south, the power of fire, to protect this circle with the power of fire, to guard this circle with the warmth of love, past, present, and future. So mote it be.
I call the watchtower of the west, the power of water, to wash away the year past, its sorrows, triumphs, and clear the way for the new year to be. So mote it be.
I call the watchtower of the north, the power of earth, to ground and center me, so that we might have the strength to face the long nights of the winter ahead. So mote it be.
So where this is educational, right now we're going to extinguish just the direction. During the ritual, they all do the whole thing.
Therefore, in celebration of Samhain, we hope you're able to join us tonight in celebration. You're invited to participate or sit on the side, whichever is most comfortable. Let's sing an invitation to gather together, even as we are scattered in many different places. Number 389 in our gray hymnal, and the version we offer this morning is from the Church of the Larger Fellowship. This is often sung in a round, so choose the voice that you wish. There are a few words and they are repeated. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour. Gathered here in one strong body. Gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near. Please remain muted as we sing Gathered Here.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle of the power, gathered here in the struggle of the power, gathered here in the struggle of the power, gathered here in the struggle of the body, 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 gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near.
I wish to express my gratitude to those supporting technology this morning. Corey, Tom, Sue, and Sharon G. Also to Jim, Linda, and the members of the UUFCC choir who have created several of the videos for this morning's music. As fate would have it, those who participated in the almost ritual this morning include those same tech folks as well as Bryce. Thank you for your thoughtfulness in sharing Samhain with all of us this morning. I'd also like to welcome Andrea Rudnick, this morning's speaker, and I'd like to welcome you. If you're new here or you would like to learn more about the fellowship, you can email Mary Jane at office@uufcc.org and visit our website at uufcc.org. It is good that we gather together. This morning's opening words are by Arlen Goff, Thresholds. We cross them every day, from room to room, from outside to inside and back again, from here to there, from anywhere to everywhere, from age to age. Each threshold offers an opportunity for change, for renewal, for transformation, from what we were and what we are to what we can be. In this hour and in this place, we cross a threshold from our day-to-day everydayness into space and time attuned to the other, to the sacred, to the holy, into an awareness of new life, pregnant with possibilities. How will we be renewed in this moment? How will we be changed by this hour? How will we be transformed through this gathering of beloved community? Come, you longing, thirsty souls, come, let us worship together. In our tradition, we revere the living of our lives as a sacred endeavor, believing that the joys and sorrows we experience hallow the living of our lives. We have long tradition at UUFCC of sharing our joys, sorrows, and life milestones by entering them into the Book of Life. While we are meeting virtually, you may email your joys, sorrows, and personal milestones to Book of Life at uufcc.org. Messages should be sent no later than the Saturday prior to the service. During the Sunday morning service, the worship associate will read your words. I have not received any messages this morning, but I know there are joys and sorrows in your lives and the lives of your friends here at UUFCC. I know there are people who are taking care of children and spouses and parents. I know that you are taking care of each other. I know there are people who are aching in their hearts and bodies. May we hold all these and one another in love and tenderness, so that this fellowship may be a source of strength and comfort, courage and hope in the days and weeks ahead. I would like to share the words of Reverend Gretchen Haley for all of us this morning and especially for those who are in Matamoros, Mexico, and Brownsville, Texas. For this one moment, know only that you are loved, that you are safe and whole and loved. Know that you belong here, here among us, here upon this earth, in your body, however tired or broken your heart may be. Whatever fear, disappointment, and anger you carry, for this hour, know that you are not alone. Feel the presence of the others surrounding you, breathing beside you and with you, discovering together the way our voices rise and fall together in harmony, in hope. Claim here a resilient freedom, the choice for love, for light, to live with joy and gratitude and praise as a form of resistance. And with this breathing of one breath, the sacred belonging, may we now enter into a time of silence together. I would like to introduce Andrea Rudnick, one of the founders of Team Brownsville. You may remember that she spoke with us a few years ago as a representative of Team Brownsville, a group of volunteers who saw a need to help families and individuals legally seeking asylum in the United States. Andrea?
Hi, good morning. It's good to be with you. I don't think it's been a couple of years. I don't remember exactly when I spoke with you all, but It seems like it was in the spring, perhaps, when the people were just crossing from MPP. Anyway, it's good to be with you. Good to hear your words of solidarity. So Friday, I walked across a different bridge than I usually walk, and that was the bridge from McAllen to Reynosa. When MPP ended and the people that we knew from the encampment crossed into Brownsville and went all over the United States, we had high hopes that a new era of a more dignified, more humane system of seeking asylum was going to come about. We had really high hopes that laws would change, that would make it more streamlined for people to be able to apply for asylum, and there wouldn't be people waiting in conditions that were not good or even adequate. But that's not been the case, unfortunately. A lot of the hopes that we had have been dashed in essence, and so we're at a different point now than I think we believed we would be in by now. Here we are, October 31st, and we're looking at the possibility that MPP may be put back in place within the next 2 weeks. That causes a lot of anxiety, I would say, on our part, and also on the asylum seekers' part. They haven't been through MPP as we witnessed it, as we walked it with the people that lived in the encampment. So they have a different perspective than we do, but it is not where we hope to be, is what I can say. And the reason why I walked across the bridge to Reynosa is because I was going with other members of different organizations. I went with Sister Norma Pimentel, who's with Catholic Charities Humanitarian Respite Center. I went with Gabby Zavala, who ran the Resource Center of Matamoros. I went with another volunteer with Team Brownsville. And we went to another shelter in Reynosa called Senda de Vida. Senda de Vida has been in existence for a number of years now, but over the past 6 months, it has grown from 200 asylum seekers to over 1,000. And so some of the work that Team Brownsville is doing is we're working with other NGOs that are more on the ground in Reynosa, since Reynosa is about an hour away from Matamoros. So it's not a place we can get to easily. We can't just walk across the bridge and be there like we can be in Matamoros. So what we do is we link ourselves with other NGOs that are in Reynosa, and we ask what the greatest needs are. And we try to provide some level of funding for specific projects. For example, right now at Senda, because they have over 1,000 people, their systems of water and sanitation are at the literal bursting point. They've needed to put in new piping, new bathrooms, roofing, doors, things that we take for granted. And they've also had to expand. Senda used to be a shelter where everyone stayed in rooms in the shelter, in the main part of the shelter, rooms with beds, bunk beds, that kind of thing. But when more and more people arrived, they just didn't have the space within the actual walls of the shelter. So they had to expand. They had to put down a concrete slab so that they could accommodate tents. And so we are back to providing hundreds and hundreds of tents, sleeping bags, blankets, as well as providing some level of funding for this group called Solidarity Engineering, which are, they were founded by a group of engineering women from different universities in the United States. And they have their eyes on engineering projects that need to be done in Reynosa and Matamoros. And they actually started out helping in the encampment in Matamoros and have moved over to Reynosa after the encampment here was closed. So they said, we asked them to do a proposal for us of the things that were most needed at Senda, and they did that. And so they are working on things that will bring more dignity to the now more than 1,000 people at Senda. And hopefully those are things that will remain. So that, because sometimes you can fund a project and then the people move somewhere else and you end up just following them and funding, but nothing actually remains of what you've done. But in this case with Senda, it's a more permanent place so that we know that even as people cross, or even as people make decisions about going to another place, the structure that's being put in will stay there. So those are some of the things that we do in Reynosa that don't require our physical presence, but require funding and require just we want to go and have our eyes on the project. We don't just want to fund it and say, okay, go ahead and do it and never really see it. So it is important for us to go to Reynosa every couple of weeks to see how it's going, to see if there are other needs that people have that we can work with. So that's ongoing. Our projects, our bus station work is daily. We are at the Brownsville bus station 7 days a week, receiving whoever comes through. And our numbers have been up and down over the last couple of months. We've had a high of 300 people in a day and a low of no one. There have unfortunately been days, usually happens on the weekend, but where no one has come through. And although you might rejoice and say, well, that's great, because maybe people are coming through another way, or maybe there are no people crossing at this time. But in the back of our minds, we always have it that we know that there are people coming. We know that there are people that are trying to cross, and we don't fully understand those days where we don't get anyone. Whether the detention center is detaining people longer, because we know the detention center has hundreds of adults there. We know that people are coming to the border because we can see them. We can go to the shelter in Matamoros. We can go to the shelters in Reynosa. And so we know that people are there waiting, families with young children, the same people that we've been seeing. We don't fully understand why they're not coming at the same speed as they were. It's just one of those things that we just have to wait and see day to day. Yesterday, we received 16 people in the bus station, but on Friday, there were, I believe, 40 people from the detention center, and there were 16 families with young children. So it was a day with more people. So every person gets a backpack, snack bag, blanket. We try to make sure that every child gets clothing, new clothing, a shirt, pants, socks, underwear, a pair of shoes. And now as we head into the cooler weather, we're also going to be buying more hoodies and jackets and things like that, because it's already much colder up north than it is here. So we need to prepare for that. So the needs are ongoing. And like I said, we don't know what will happen in another week or two. There's discussion about MPP, whether it will be fully implemented, whether it will not be, or whether it will be implemented in a different way than it was. That's always the hope. Sister Norma spoke about that at the meeting, and she said that in her meetings with different government officials, that MPP could look very different, maybe shorter, maybe just one court hearing, which it sounds better, but really, I don't really think there's a way that you can make MPP a humane process. I just think in its essence, it is inhumane. And so it's scary to even think about putting any aspect of MPP back in place. So that's where we are. We're coming up, today's October 31st. We're coming up to the holiday season where in years past, we've provided, kids with something, some kind of a holiday treat, a stocking. We've gotten pajamas and hats and things like that. And so that's planning that we're doing right now, just thinking about, what are the needs? What can we provide? Who's going to be there? So those are some of the things that are in our minds right now. And I don't know if anybody had any specific questions that you wanted to ask. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have. Let's see. How do I do this? Get to the. Let's see. Okay. All right. Somebody's asking about what MPP is. MPP is a program that was put in place during the Trump era. It's called Migrant Protection Protocol. And if you look it up on the Homeland Security website, you will find that it is not protecting migrants, but it was something that was put in place to protect Americans from migrants. And the wording that is used, and I haven't looked on the Department of Homeland Security website in a while. I haven't looked up MPP, so I don't know if it's still there and written out the way that it was. But it was very clear that it was put in place with language that was used that described people in a very negative light, that described people as invaders, as rapists, as drug smugglers, as people that the Americans didn't want to come, and that this migrant protection protocol was a way of keeping asylum seekers out of the United States. And it did keep them out because basically they would cross to request asylum. They would be preliminarily processed, and then they would be sent right back across the bridge into Mexico to wait for their next appointment, which would be 2 months later and 2 months later and 2 months later. So the process dragged out, and people didn't finish even in a year. They still hadn't come to a conclusion of their process. And then the other thing is that the ones that did come to a conclusion of their process never got asylum. Less than 0.5% of people actually got asylum because they put in rules that made it almost impossible to actually get asylum. So it was a very cruel policy, and it's hard to believe that it won't continue to be a cruel policy, even with modifications, even with a shortening of the process. The basic policy was cruel and inhumane at its essence. So what can I say? It's not something that we want. It's not something that we're looking forward to. And we just hope every day that something is going to happen that changes it or that stops it before it's actually implemented again. What can we do? Well, I say that you can do the same things that you've been doing all along, which is raise your voices, speak to people, talk to representatives, talk to people that you know that work with asylum seeking people, and maybe you know someone that has an impact on someone else that has an impact on someone else, and so forth. I mean, we never know who it is that we're going to speak to that maybe is the key to stopping this. We don't know. But other than that, what you can do is continue to do what you're doing, which is you're receivers of people where you live, you're receivers of asylum seekers that end up in your community. And also you've been supporters of Team Brownsville, which, you know, the support that we get goes right out into Brownsville to help the people that go out from our bus station, but also it goes out to Reynosa, to the shelters and to the plaza area that support asylum seekers that are waiting, as well as to the shelters in Matamoros that are also supporting asylum seekers as they wait. So that's really it. Your voices are really important, and our voices are powerful. We just never really know the impact of what we say and how that will go out and in the long run make an impact that's going to change this and really ultimately allow us to have a humane asylum process. That's what we're looking for. Does anybody else have any other questions you wanted to ask, or any specific information that you wanted? I don't know if I've covered everything. I thank you for just giving me the opportunity to speak to this group. I know that you all have been really powerful supporters of Team Brownsville and of asylum seekers in general. You've just done a lot in your own community, as well as helping us where we are on the border. So I appreciate all the support that you've given, and look forward to speaking with you the next time.
Thank you, Andrea, for sharing with us today. I admire your perseverance and your compassion. The Immigration Justice Committee and Social Justice Committees at UUFCC have sent $500 to support that work at the border. If you would like to support Team Brownsville, you can send your donation directly to them. Also, you can look at the website or their Facebook page, the page for Team Brownsville, for more details on their needs. In our tradition, congregations exist because of the generous support of members and friends. It is our privilege and our responsibility to ensure the health and future of this fellowship. To this end, your offerings to support the ministry of this fellowship, whether by pledge or donation, may be offered online. There are several ways you can give. You can mail checks to the office, drop them in our mailbox, or call the office to make other arrangements. We are also equipped to accept donations through the Venmo app. Payments through this app should be made to UUFCC offering. Your generosity is always appreciated. If you are with us for the first time, do not feel obligated to give. Today you are our guest. Now it is time to highlight UUFCC's events and activities. Please remember to read your weekly copy of the updates, which includes the calendars and links for connecting via Zoom. The updates also tells us which groups are meeting in person here at the fellowship and which ones on Zoom and which ones some of both. The updates provide an important means for staying connected during these challenging times. Additionally, if you would like to have fellowship events highlighted during the service, you can email the worship associates at bookoflife@uufcc.org. Today, I have the following announcements. The November issue of the newsletter will be online tomorrow. Click on the link in the email you will receive or on the newsletter link on the website, which is marked Chalice Connections. As mentioned earlier, you are invited to join in a Samhain ritual this evening outside at the fellowship. If you would like to come and observe, that's great too. We plan to gather at 6:30 and hope to finish about 8. Those who wish to participate tonight should shower or bathe beforehand and wear natural fabric or recycled clothes of the traditional colors, black, orange, or yellow. You are also invited to bring items for the altar, something that reminds you of your ancestors. We will have a fire, and you might wish to toss something in the fire in symbolism of ridding yourself of a burden. After the ritual, we will eat together, not potluck, bring your own, and it is traditional to eat apples or pomegranates. 6:30, wear black, orange, or yellow, bring food for yourself and something for the fire. Several members of the Immigration Justice Committee are traveling to the southern border to assist Team Brownsville. They have rented a place that has an extra bedroom. If you're interested, contact Betty B., Chair of the Immigration Justice Committee. If you're interested in joining the Earth-Centered Spirituality Group, contact Corey. And one more opportunity for folks who would like to assist in making the sanctuary more beautiful. Do you have an eye for decorating? Can you sew? If you have some time and energy for this task, contact me, Laura A. The closing words this morning are from Reverend Wayne B. Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard. The path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down, there is another truth. You are not alone. And now, please join me in our traditional recitation as Sharon extinguishes the chalice. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of hope, the fire of commitment, or the warmth of community. May those ideals shine in our lives and warm our hearts until we are together again.
And to close the circle, in the ritual, we would dismiss the quarters, thank you men for being present, and then we would close, before closing too, we would also thank the god and the goddess who have presided for the night, and always make sure you close the circle. So at the end, we would sing something such as, the circle is open, but not unbroken. Merry meet and merry part and merry meet again. If you'd like to join along. The circle is open, but not unbroken. Merry meet and merry part and merry meet again. Following our musical selection, those who would like are invited to stay for our social time. We'll let you know as
Go now in peace, go now in peace.